Okay, welcome to Wednesday Whispers for October. And I'm super, super delighted because I've got one of my great inspirations as well as friends, Julia Anastasiou, who's joining us from London. We're going to kind of let the flow happen today, but we wanted to tie it into my theme for October, which is rebirth. But really, we're going to focus a lot on the sort of ancient wisdom that flows through us as women, even in this time of history, and how we tune into that, and the work that we both love and share and are passionate about, which is really working with women and accompanying them to be, I suppose, the best version of themselves that they can be. Julia, hello, my lovely.
Hello, Charlotte. Thank you so much for inviting me to be part of Wednesday Whispers.
I love my title as well. I picked up this title years and years ago. One of my friends always leaves a message saying, Wednesday Whispers, as if it's something really, I don't know, secret potion-like. But it was designed originally on Instagram, and it was designed as a very sort of intimate but casual and yet sometimes quite deep way of tackling subjects that we, particularly as women, my community is mainly women, particularly as women, are interested in. And there are titles bandied around all the time, aren't there, like feminine sacred and the ancient feminine and the sort of wild or the wisdom woman. I know you use a lot of these words as well. Sometimes I find them a little superficially used. In your case, they are never superficially used, because I know you have a deep connection to not only the words, but the wisdom behind them. Tell me and tell the community a little bit about where you're coming from. Let's probably say now, because I know you've got a long history and everyone can work that out on your website of training, experience, etc. Where are you right now in your life as a woman in a female body with the idea of this ancient wisdom?
All right, then. So right now I am embodying, I'm embodying the wild woman, heading into the wise woman where I am in my life. So I'm menopausal. I've gone through the menopause. I'm on the other side. I'm nearly 57. And
I'm just going to add in there, she does not look 57. She's also my face yoga teacher. And honestly, what an example.
Oh, thank you. So because this is October, my birthday is on the 22nd of October. So I was born in 1967. So when we stop bleeding, what happens is we actually hold the blood inside ourselves, and it's the blood that holds the wisdom. So I feel like over the last 4.5 years, especially, I've stepped into like a very different phase of my life. And this is wonderful to have the rebirth taking place right now in October, as we're on the precipice of Samhain. So Samhain is when we go deep into the dark, we go into the void, we go into the darkness for the rebirth and the transformation to take place. So
yeah, that's perfect. And your birthday is the day after mine. And I did know that. I knew your birthday was in October, and I couldn't remember if it was just before or just after. So you're still Libra though, aren't you? You're still in that cusp.
I am. And oftentimes when I say it's like the 22nd, people are like, oh, you're Scorpio. And I'm like, no, I am Libra through and through.
I'll vouch for that, because Julia and I are very similar, I think, not only in our hair color, but in our way of working, so that we find the ultimate balance, you know, that Libran quality of harmony and weighing things up and balancing things. I'm not wrong in that, am I?
No, and it's not about indecisive. I'm actually a very decisive Libran. And I also love beauty. So whether that's beauty around me or kind of like, you know, what jewelry I'm choosing to wear on a certain day, to me, the aesthetics are also really important. And when we think about like the ancient times, you know, the wisdom keepers, they would be wearing like their cloaks and their feathers and their velvet and their jewelry. So it's not superficial. I actually feel that it's part of a self-care practice.
That's interesting you bring that up, because oftentimes so Julia is a yoga teacher, as I am. We have fairly similar, if not slightly like that kind of paths, but they kind of intermingle quite a lot. Often in the yoga world, there is this idea that the superficial, the outside, shouldn't have value, shouldn't be celebrated. Whereas you and I are very much, as you can probably see by our different posts on Instagram, by what we put on our bodies, etc., we're very much about making the body a temple. There's sort of celebrating the goddess energy on the outside as well as the inside. And I love that about you. And it's one of the things that has always attracted me to you and what you do in your work, but also as a friend, because that is really important to me, because it shows that you care about this temple of your body as well.
Yes, because what's the opposite to that? It's negligence, it's neglect, isn't it? It's neglecting the self. And, you know, we're here as spiritual beings having a human experience in a human body. And if you're on the spiritual path, you know, maybe you have this idea of rising up, of ascending, of connecting to the earth, staying rooted and rising up into the spiritual realms. Well, we do that through the vessel of the body. We know what we eat, what we drink, how we spend our time, who we spend our time with, like our practice. It's not about neglecting ourselves or, you know, restricting ourselves from pleasure. No, so it's really about embracing, like, you know, what shall you choose to meditate in? Do you want to meditate in something which is itchy, or do you want something which is soft and luxurious and you just love sitting in your meditation pose thinking, this is just the best place to be?
I know exactly what you mean. And it's funny you should bring that up. That's just come back to me. When I did my first ever teacher training with Shivananda. If you know anything about the Shivananda school, and this is nothing negative towards the school, it's quite prescriptive. And you have to wear a yellow t-shirt, which really isn't the color for people like you and me, for like a whole month. That's one point that was really troubling for me. And the other thing is my mum, in all her best interests, very sweetly bought me a meditation shawl so I could go, but it was really itchy and you spend a heck of a lot of time in these meditations. And I used to be with this cashmere, itchy cashmere kind of shawl. And in the end, it just went down on the side and just provided some heat for my back because I just couldn't stand it anymore. It was really, ugh. And similarly in Shivananda, they were more about the sort of plain and dowdy. And that troubled me when I left the training, because I thought, but that's not me. Just as Vipassana is not really me, right? I understand the concept of going within and being silent, but it's very not my character. And
Yeah.
you have to, at the end of the day, stand in your sovereignty and your character, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, and we have choice. We have choice to embody the divine, the wisdom, the mystery of life. You know, we have a choice. And now there are so many options out there, different pathways for us to take, that if it doesn't feel right, we can leave it. Yeah, and continue on our journey, because we're not stuck and beholden, are we? If the practice isn't working, you find another way. If the meditation isn't working, choose something else. So recognizing that, you know, we actually, as the sovereign, divine feminine that we are, we have choice. We have free will. We don't have to stay in a practice that isn't supporting and aligned to our highest good and truth.
Oh, you see that in itself, right? I'm going to come back onto your book because I think that could be one of the little quotes that has to go around your book.
Okay.
Because that's absolutely perfect. It does remind me of Carolyn Hillier, who I know you love. And in fact, you introduced me to her music first. or a chant you sent me actually of her, which went through my core, was so beautiful. But she talks in one of the Weaver's Oracle cards, and I've seen it in different books as well, about the fact that as women we're walking north, we're walking to the sort of north, whether that be this sort of internal pull and feel, or whether it's a literal north. And along the way, there are the clothes of other women that have been left behind along the path. I've got shivers as I'm saying the story. And you pick up the clothes along the way and put them on, but sometimes they don't fit, they're not right for you straight away. And other times you walk a few miles and then you realize they're not right for you, so you leave them behind for other women to find. And it reminds me of that Celtic story, and I love it. And I'm coming right onto your book because you're writing your first book, I think. I can't believe it's your first.
So I wrote a chapter in an anthology around cacao and women that gathered, and that came out 2 years ago. So that was like my first little dalliance with writing professionally. But yes, so I have a book which is going to be out before Christmas.
Oh,
Spirit,
how exciting.
yeah. So Spirit gave me a date. So I'm holding that in my awareness and consciousness. But it's a reflection. It's called The Mandala of Wisdom, a guidebook for sacred living. And this weaves beautifully in what we're talking about right now, because pre-pandemic, my relationship with yoga and meditation and the teacher trainings that I was holding here in the UK, and also co-training in India at an ashram there with my teacher, everything changed for me when I came back from India, because I was stuck there during like those early days of the lockdown. So I didn't actually get back to the UK till May. And I was sitting on the earth in my garden in a Mongolian yurt. And that became like my online yoga studio. And the messages that were coming through were earth-based, feminine-based, listen to your body, like you have the foundation of hatha, of kundalini, of classical kundalini, of meditation, but you have to go deeper. And while I was in India just a few months prior, I was doing this sadhana with my teacher where we were working with the elements. So we started with earth, we did water, fire, air, and ether. So when I came back, I started to embody these teachings on a deeper level. So the book, The Mandala of Wisdom, is something that just organically sprung from the earth. And just behind our house is a Neolithical Bronze Age tummus. So I kind of like felt like the ancestors of the land, and I live in Greenwich, so I'm on a major ley line. I felt like the ancestors of the land were sort of like humming and drumming and just like encouraging. And there were moments where I was like, I can't possibly say or do that or teach that. And then it was just like bolts of lightning, like you've got to do it, like this is it. And because like the online circle was so beautiful, they were so receptive, that whatever I did, whatever I said, whatever kind of like transition I gave them from one thing to the other, they just embraced it. So it's very elemental. The book is about the directions. It's about the phases of the moon, the phases of womanhood, and how this all layers. And you know, you can take things that really resonate with you, but it's kind of like it's like a roadmap guiding you to the North Star. And the North Star is inside of each practitioner. So whether you are a teacher or whether you are like a yogini and you know have strong practice, I feel it's going to like really awaken something inside. I don't know. I don't think there's anything like it out there.
That's so exciting. I'm so pleased for you. I can't wait to read a copy. Does it have practice in it, or is it, by practice, I mean like yoga posture type practice, or is it just just rituals and guidance and written word?
Yeah, so there's something that has morphed. So the mandala of wisdom is a practice in itself, where you work with the mandala of the directions. So we start in the east, and then we move into the south, and then the west, and then the north. So we're working with earth, fire, water, and earth. So I am sharing like the practices and the opening and the invocation. And what I think I'll probably do as well is I'll probably actually have like a link to watch me do the thing, and also like an audio as well. So even though it's going to be like a book, it's also going to be have links so that you can see a video to certain rituals, and also like an audio link with me talking you through it, as you know, as an addition.
And have you finished it?
I have finished 28 chapters.
Wow, 28. This is a big book, Julia.
Oh, Charlotte, let me share it. I actually printed it out. So here it is.
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't know
It's
that.
pretty chunky. That looks like a chunky affair.
It's
That
pretty
is
empty. There's
cool.
no pictures in there yet.
Are you planning on pictures? Are you as well? You having
Maybe just kind of like symbols. Yes, so symbols in
yeah.
there. And it's like I'm self-publishing, so it's my first attempt. So I'm just working on the opening and the closing right now, and then I'm going to send it to somebody to read through and to edit for me. And what was really interesting is I was thinking, like, oh, who will I get to review my book? And I reflected on my teachers, and the majority of my teachers are all male. And what I'm teaching is the divine feminine. And I thought, oh, this just doesn't really sit with me. Like, what can I do? So I emailed the people, like on my teachers, and I woke up in the morning and I'm like, this just doesn't feel right. So I'm in meditation, and at the end of meditation, I said to the circle, there's going to be a chapter where I would love for you to share your story about what your journey has been like through the mandala of wisdom, whether you've been with me for one spiral, which is usually about 4 weeks, or whether you've been with me for 4 years. Like, how has this practice impacted your life? And they just lit up. So I don't know whether it's going to be a chapter or whether I'm just going to have one little story at the beginning of like each chapter, which I think might be nice.
Oh, I think that might be nice. I've seen that in a book before, and I can't remember the book now, but it was quite nice. So at the beginning of every single chapter, like you said, there was a little. It's not a testimonial, but it's almost that. It's like a personal insight.
Yeah.
And it really makes it a living book then, doesn't it? Because then you can see what's happened with that sort of flow and progression and evolution. And to come back to the theme, rebirth in some cases.
Absolutely. And then what happened was, within the next 48 hours, the teachers that I'd asked if they would like read my book, they were like, we'd love to. So I feel like I had to kind of like go, let's talk about rebirth. I had to kind of like go through like that darkness, that squeeze of, oh, I haven't heard back from them, to come up with something new, then to offer it to the circle, for that to be received graciously, and then for the teachers to say, love to do it. So
I mean, we're all about balance and alignment, but I think what you just touched on is a really interesting thing, because in the past we've had a couple of conversations about this kind of FOMO thing, or this kind of doing something and it's not worked, and how long do you wait before you change something or before you evolve, or do you just sort of stick to your guns and carry on? Do you know what I mean? It's a tricky one, that, isn't it? Especially when you're on your own
Yeah,
working through something.
yeah, do you know, it really is. And I think, you know, for your listeners, that's the point, that you come into your stillness and into your quietude, whether that's in nature or on your part or on your mat, and just keep on asking yourself the question. I've got a great business mentor, and like, you know, she'll say things like, you continue the offer until the hour before. Like, don't give up on the Wednesday if you've got a workshop starting on the Saturday. You keep on marketing it, sending messages out right up until the point. She said, because not everybody is going to see the thing like at the same time, like at the first email or what have you. And I've really taken that on board, just to keep on going. If you're meant to do it, if it's like, you know, part of your path, that you're aligned and it's your truth, we just keep on walking the path, because the right people will join us, will come to the workshops, on the retreats, they'll buy the book, they'll do whatever. And that's what I really want, is for people who are of a similar vibration to kind of like to be the beacon. Yes, to be the beacon and to stand up, and then for them to like take some inspiration and wisdom from that.
That's beautiful. And I would agree with that. And I think, you know, I've been guilty is not the word, but I have in the past, I suppose, been anxious, wondered what I'm doing wrong, why isn't there more, you know, and I've continued marketing things and I've continued believing, but the times when I haven't done it, it hasn't worked. Obviously, it's just like, because I've already given up, right? I've already given up on it and I'm not believing in what I'm doing. But the more I keep going and I keep putting it out there and I just believe in it and I just keep putting it there and I keep being me and I keep turning up and I keep doing the thing, then whether it's 10, 20, 50, 100 people, it doesn't really matter. It's the people that need to be there at that time. And that's difficult when you've got bills to pay. I completely get it. And I'm with you on that, and 1,000%. But sometimes you just have to focus on that smallest viable audience and who needs that message right now. I think that's and your book sounds beautiful. I don't think I've heard of another book, that there are so many books out there, but one that does what you're layering into the different, it's not just experiences, but trainings and integrations that you have evolved with over the years. And I think that's beautiful. I want to just touch on, before we close this mini circle. First thing, I do remember you saying once that even when two women come together and just talk about, it can be profound or it can be just an exchange, there's something incredibly beautiful and intense about that. And that in itself encourages this feminine wisdom and this feminine energy. You have been receiving messages for some time about the Magdalene energy. And I'll just leave it at that, because I know you'll explain that better. But the Magdalene energy and what that is bringing into your life and has brought into your life and will continue to do that. Can we touch on that? Because we've talked about it before, but I really want to bring it into this idea of rebirth in this Wednesday Whispers. What is, in your words, the Magdalene energy and message, and how are you honoring it? How can we honor it in this time in history right now?
So Magdalene first appeared to me when I was sitting in the yurt, but I didn't know it was her. So through the divine feminine energy, it was her who was talking, whispering to me, and then it became very clear. And initially I was like, I had like mixed messages from my childhood, right? Like who she was. So I started to do research, and I realized that she is all about love. She is the essence of love. and of the beloved. So whether the beloved is yourself, and that's the connection to yourself, or whether that's your partner. So it's about a union. It's about a merging of souls, of energy, but it's all through the heart. So as I started to open up my heart in the practice, as I started to go into my heart in the meditation, so out of the head, like away from the third eye and the crown, and started to do like more heart work, then it started to open, just like the lotus of the heart. And it wasn't 12 petals, it was actually 144 expressions of love that were coming out, that were emanating. So then last year, I took my mum on a pilgrimage around France, and we traced the footsteps of Magdalene, mum and I, and that was a beautiful journey. And I was actually in Saint-Maximin in this little hotel, and I felt an energy sit on my bed, and I knew it was Magdalene. We had seen her skull in the basilica earlier that day, and she said to me, she said, "You think this is your journey, but this journey is actually for your mum to remember and to reconnect," because she'd moved away from her faith in a way. And so during that journey, we were able to just ignite for her to remember, like what was forgotten, that wasn't even available at her time, right? Being raised as a Catholic, it just wasn't available for her. And, you know, I feel that my mum was 79, like last year, she's 80 now, but that like really helped her to connect to something which was missing. So then this year it's continued and the messages are deeper. And she shows up for me now actually as roses, as well as the essence of Magdalene. So I actually have something which is starting on the 6th of January, which is going to be a mystery school connecting to Magdalene and also to the essence and to the power of the rose and how these two weave together. So we spoke about Samhain, which is part of the wheel of the year. So like eight times a year, like the equinoxes and solstices. So we're actually going to have 9 because we're starting on Epiphany. We're going to have 9 meetings throughout the year where we're going to be embracing and actually living the energy of Magdalene. And that might show up as a rose for you and the essence of that, or it could show up as another facet. So it could be Isis, for example. And just allowing like the divine feminine not to be something which is outside of us, but to actually find that within us, find that love, that strength, that courage, and to live our truth as the beloved and with our beloved.
That is absolutely beautiful. And I know that some of the people that are watching this don't actually realize that the Magdalene journey happened in France. There were many years where she was here well, here I say here because I live in France, but she was in on this territory, and I think a lot of people ignore that fact, don't they? But there are so many grottos, churches, cathedrals, basilicas, where not only she visited, but they have honored her presence there.
Yes.
And I was in Narbonne at the weekend, and which is fairly close to all the sort of, well, it's in the Qatar kind of area, and Narbonne Cathedral is absolutely stunning, I have to say. And there's a bronze statue of a kind of, I'll send you the video actually, but a kind of wildish woman right at the entrance. It's obviously a modern edition, but it's beautiful because it's kind of like this female energy in this huge, like turreted abbey before you've even entered into the whole realm of that energy. And within the cathedral are various sculptures of, you know, the Magdalene, but there's one that's black, which is really quite rare. You know, you don't get them because they painted them in gold, didn't they? And they lightened the wood and things. And I was just standing in front of that one. There was a man standing next to me for ages, just contemplating that and a beautiful picture sort of next to it. It was just, the energy was in that little bit. There's a lot of people in there, and that little bit was just palpably quiet.
Yes.
So nice.
Yeah, so the Black Madonna holds like a lot of power, and to me she's the primordial mother.
Yeah, no, that was very special. And I know that you have been before me, in fact, actually, but you went to the Grotte de Sainte Marie in Sainte-Baume.
Yes.
For those in France watching this or anywhere else, I would really recommend it. It's quite an incredible journey, and I did it when it was weighing it down with rain. You didn't have the same weather conditions, I don't think. But I was walking back down, so I actually got lost at one point. So there was no one there, and it was really misty and really rainy. But I did get up there, and I got up there, and there was no one there. And I walked into the grotte, the sort of the church area. There was no one there, and I was just like, oh, it was just incredible. When I walked down, the thing that struck me was some of the people walking up, including, was a rather elaborate kind of Swami type, not Indian. He wasn't Indian, but he had all of the gowns and the hair and the whole thing. He was walking up on his own with no shoes, which was quite incredible. So it was freezing cold. And then there's this other guy who was walking up with an umbrella, because it was weighing it down the rain, a picture of Mary Magdalene. The umbrella was on the picture, not on him.
Yes.
And the picture was facing outwards, so it was facing up the pathway.
Yes.
And it just struck me, and I've got like goosebumps, because the forest area for me was almost more powerful than the actual church.
Yeah. And that's the pilgrimage. That's the pilgrimage and the honoring. So whether somebody is choosing to walk barefoot or whether they're carrying a painting. When I climbed that massif, there was a man, and he had like a stone tablet about this size around his neck, facing out, that he was carrying up the 40-minute climb. Then there was another man, and he was carrying like a kettlebell over his shoulders, as if he was carrying the cross. So there is such devotion to the energy of Mary Magdalene. And she was present throughout a large portion of southern France for about 30 years. And the Cathars, you know, they protected the Holy Grail, the sacred bloodline of Magdalene and Yeshua's children. So I've just come back from France, and I went to different caves and grottos and experienced different things, because I have my own pilgrimage at the end of October this year. And while it might not be something that I do annually, it'll certainly be something that I do, I feel like, every other year. And each time I go, each time I step on the land, like my understanding just goes deeper and deeper with the connection to her.
And I would agree with that. I'm actually going back as well.
Yes.
In October, because it's sort of en route as well, from coming back from the coast and back to home. And I'm trying to persuade my youngest daughter to come with me. I think possibly after the Narbonne Cathedral visit, she'll be more on board. But I plan to take her with me through the forest. If nothing else, she'll love the forest energy. But I just wanted to add on the pilgrimage bit. I got lost, but do you ever really get lost? Do you know what I mean? But And I didn't take the right fork at one point to go to the church. I took these beautiful, massive stone sort of steps up to the left, which quickly, actually, after a little chapel, become rock kind of steps. And I carried on and I carried on. And eventually I came to the top of the massif, and it was blowing an absolute hoolie. You couldn't see anything. It was blowing in from this side. So this side of the mountain was protected. It's blowing in from this side. And I'm walking along and I'm thinking, this can't be right. So I checked on the GPS and it said it was underneath me. So I'd actually gone to the top and I was above where the church, for want of a better word, was. I thought, right, okay, I'm going to have to come back down again now. And as I was coming down in completely unsuitable shoes for where I was, I was really, really careful, like stepping really carefully along these slippy stones. And I got this sort of huge like visit. And I just like, this is where she came from. This is where she would have walked from this land over this side that I couldn't really see, but I kind of knew was vast and flat below this mound. And then there's this sort of ridge, and then you come down and then you discover the underneath part, and which has now become the god de Sainte Marie. But I had this, oh my God, I'm literally walking the same steps.
Yes.
And it was, wow.
And I feel that, you know, you really feel that, especially in the forest as well, like what ancient wisdom, like has kind of like walked those footsteps. I also felt that in Sainte Marie de la Mer, because that's where the boat originally landed and where like the caravan of people like first placed their feet on French soil. So I also feel that there as well, which is also like super wild. And they do great honorings there. And there's a beautiful Black Madonna in that church as well, San Sarah. Yeah, Saint Sarah.
That's brilliant. Oh, so if you are in France, if you are wanting to tread in those ancient footsteps, check it out. Honestly, it is well worth the pilgrimage. But you don't have to travel to do a pilgrimage. You can actually just do your own little ritual and pilgrimage. I remember reading someone saying that every single walk can be turned into a pilgrimage, which I like the idea of.
And you can use the power of your meditation going in through your heart to just experience the essence and the energy of the land. You don't actually have to go to the pyramids. You can kind of go in through your heart and experience the energy because it's a quantum field.
Oh, exactly. Julia, is the one last message that you'd like to conclude with linked to potentially rebirth, or it can be of your own choosing, your own intention?
Well, staying with the energy of rebirth, just recognizing that sometimes we actually go through the darkness. We go through a dark night of the soul, and on the other side is the dawn. So wherever you are in your life right now, if you're struggling, if you have a challenge, know that there is light, and we just have to keep on going through. Think about the sacred waters where we all came through in the womb, in that darkness. At the end of the tunnel, right, is the light. So sometimes we just need a little bit of incubation so that we can be reborn, so that we can come through at a highest expression of ourselves. And it's a cycle, just like the moon. You can link it to the 28 days of kind of like that portion of the dark moon and the new moon coming into the full moon. So yes, it's a waxing and a waning. Stay true to yourself, honor your sovereignty and your divinity. Yeah.
Beautiful. Lovely. I think we'll conclude it and leave it at that. It's perfect. Thank you so much for that. What a lovely journey we've done. Lovely circle around all sorts of subjects. I can't wait for your book to be out. I will add a link underneath this video to Julia's YouTube channel, but also I will try and remember to add the website in the blurb. If I don't, Julia, please remind me and I'll go back and put it into the description, because sometimes I'm a little quick in doing my things. But thank you so much.
Ah, thank you, lovely. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.